Welcome back to Byte-Sized Tech, where we break down all the latest tech and gadgets and all that.
Yeah.
But without all the, crazy jargon.
Right.
Yeah, so today we're diving into two trends that at first glance seem like they're worlds apart, but trust me, they're more connected than you might think.
Okay.
We're talking about the rise of private space ventures.
Wow.
And the comeback of those big budget, blockbuster movies.
Interesting.
Yeah, so let's start with space. You know what used to be the domain of government agencies like NASA?
Right.
Is now buzzing with all these private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin.
Pretty amazing.
You know those reusable rockets that land themselves back on Earth?
Yeah.
That's SpaceX.
Crazy.
And they're not just stopping at low Earth orbit.
Right.
They've got their sights set on Mars as a potential second home for humanity.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Mars colonization isn't just sci-fi anymore.
So what's really interesting here is that SpaceX's success has created a ripple effect.
Oh, okay.
So now we're seeing this whole wave of startups tackling these specific challenges in space, like Astroforge, who are literally aiming to mine asteroids for resources.
Hold on.
Think about that for a second.
Mining asteroids.
We could be extracting valuable metals from space rocks.
That sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Exactly. But it's becoming a reality.
Wow.
And it's not just about mining.
Right.
There's Stoke Space. They're working on advanced propulsion systems like inflatable rocket engines.
Okay, inflatable rocket engines.
That could make space travel more efficient and affordable.
Now that's something I need to wrap my head around.
So imagine a rocket engine that can be packed down to a fraction of its size, making it easier and cheaper to launch. Think of the possibilities for, space exploration and even satellite deployment. It's a game changer.
This is all blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So basically, space is becoming more accessible, and it's not just about giant rockets and government missions anymore. It's about these private companies and startups bringing their innovative ideas to the table.
Precisely. And this accessibility is attracting a lot of investment. We're talking billions of dollars pouring into space tech from both traditional venture capitalists, but even more generalist investors who are kind of recognizing the potential of this sector.
So space tech is hot right now.
Yeah.
But how does this all tie into the bigger picture of deep tech? I know it's a buzzword, but help me understand what it actually means.
Okay, so deep tech refers to technologies that are based on substantial scientific advancements and engineering innovations.
Okay.
It's not just about incremental improvements. It's about creating entirely new possibilities.
Okay, so space tech with its reusable rockets and asteroid mining definitely fits into that category.
Absolutely. But deep tech extends far beyond space. It includes fields like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and climate tech. These are areas that are tackling some of the biggest challenges facing humanity, and they have the potential to kind of reshape our world.
So deep tech is kind of the foundation for the future.
Exactly. And the fact that both traditional and generalist investors are pouring money into deep tech signals a shift in perspective. It's no longer seen as a niche or a risky bet. It's becoming a core part of the global economy.
This is all fascinating, but I'm curious how this deep tech revolution is impacting something seemingly unrelated, the resurgence of blockbuster movies.
You might be surprised to learn that the worlds of deep tech and Hollywood are more intertwined than you might think.
Interesting.
So, for example, advancements in artificial intelligence and high-performance computing are enabling filmmakers to create increasingly sophisticated visual effects.
So those mind-blowing scenes in movies like Avatar are a direct result of deep tech.
Precisely. AI is being used to create more realistic characters, environments, and special effects, really pushing the boundaries of what's possible on screen.
That makes sense, but it's not just about the big screen, right? What about how we consume content on our own devices?
That's where things get even more interesting. Take the upcoming iPhone 17, for instance. It's rumored to have a 50% increase in memory compared to its predecessor.
Okay, that sounds impressive, but what does that actually mean for the average user?
It means you'll be able to do more with your phone than ever before. Think about streaming 8K video, editing high-resolution photos, and running those, demanding augmented reality applications. All of these tasks require a lot of processing power and memory.
So basically, our smartphones are becoming mini supercomputers.
In many ways they are, and that's driving innovation across the entire tech ecosystem. From the chips that power these devices to the software that runs on them, we're seeing this constant push for more power and capability.
So we've got private companies launching rockets, Hollywood churning out blockbusters, and our smartphones becoming mini supercomputers. It's a lot to keep up with.
It certainly is, but that's what makes this such an exciting time to be following the tech world.
I agree.
Everything is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and the lines between different industries are blurring.
Speaking of blurring lines, we can't wrap up this part of our deep dive without talking about Elon Musk and his ambitions to bring his, tech-driven, cost-cutting approach to the government.
Right.
I mean, we all saw what happened with Twitter, now X. He slashed costs, cut jobs, and eliminated remote work. It was a whirlwind of change.
It was a classic example of Musk's disruptive style. He achieved, rapid cost reduction at Twitter, but some argue it came at the expense of the platform's stability and functionality.
So the big question is, can this model, which seems to work in the fast-paced tech world, really translate to something as complex and multifaceted as government?
That's a question a lot of people are asking. Can you apply the same principles of...
It seems like there's a delicate balance between efficiency and stability. Too much disruption and you risk essential services, but too little and you're stuck with the status quo.
Exactly. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions. But it's a conversation worth having as technology continues to play a larger role in our lives and in how our governments function.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. From the rise of space tech to the resurgence of Hollywood blockbusters and the potential for tech-driven government reform, it's clear that technology is this powerful force shaping our world. But before we get too deep into the philosophical implications, you need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more bite-sized tech.
Welcome back. We were just talking about the resurgence of blockbusters and how technology is shaping the way those movies are made and experienced. But there's this other, fascinating aspect to this trend.
Ooh.
It's all about the what they call the content value flywheel.
Okay.
Basically, studios are realizing that a successful theatrical release, it isn't just about box office numbers anymore, right? It's about creating this buzz that carries over to streaming platforms.
Ah, okay. So it's like a 1-2 punch.
Exactly.
They rake in the cash at the box office, A&D. Then they continue to earn from streaming subscriptions.
Exactly. And the strategy is becoming increasingly important as audience viewing habits kind of evolve.
Yeah.
People are more selective about which movies they'll actually see in theaters.
Right.
But they're often willing to catch up on popular films through streaming.
Makes sense. And speaking of how we consume content, we can't forget the role of our devices. Our smartphones are constantly evolving, becoming more powerful and capable than ever before.
Absolutely. Take the upcoming iPhone 17, for example.
Yeah.
It's rumored to have a 50% increase in memory compared to, its predecessor.
Okay, so we've heard the rumors, but break it down for me.
Okay.
What does that kind of memory boost actually mean for, the average user?
Think about it this way. It means you'll be able to do things on your phone that were previously only possible on, high-end computers.
Oh, wow. You'll be able to edit 8K video, seamlessly stream high-definition content without a hitch, and, experience augmented reality applications that are more immersive and realistic.
Wow, so our smartphones are essentially becoming pocket-sized supercomputers.
In many ways they are, and that's driving this innovation across the entire tech ecosystem. From the semiconductors that power these devices to the software that runs on them, there's this constant push for more power and capability.
So we've got private companies launching rockets, Hollywood studios creating these, mind-blowing visual experiences, and our smartphones becoming incredibly powerful. That's a lot to take in.
It is, but that's what makes, following the tech world so exciting. Everything is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and the lines between different industries are, becoming increasingly blurred.
And just when you think you've wrapped your head around the latest, gadget or innovation, something new pops up.
Exactly. It's a constant cycle of disruption and reinvention, and it's showing no signs of slowing down. Well, before we get swept away in the tide of technological advancement, let's circle back to Elon Musk and his ambitious plans for government efficiency.
Ah, yes, Musk, the disruptor in chief. He's certainly not afraid to shake things up.
That's putting it mildly, but the question remains. Can his, aggressive cost-cutting strategies that seem to work in the fast-paced tech world really be applied to something as complex and multifaceted as government?
It's a valid question. Government agencies deal with incredibly sensitive information and provide essential services to millions of people.
Right.
Any major disruptions could have, far-reaching consequences.
Exactly. It's not like launching a new electric car or sending a rocket into space.
Right.
The stakes are much higher when you're dealing with things like healthcare, defense, and infrastructure.
Right. There's a need for careful consideration, planning, and foresight. It's
Yeah.
not just about moving fast and breaking things.
So it seems like finding the right balance between efficiency and stability is key. Too much disruption and you risk, jeopardizing essential services.
Right.
But too little and you're just stuck with the status quo.
Precisely. It's a delicate dance, and it's not clear whether Musk's approach, which thrives on rapid innovation and disruption, is the right fit for, the complexities of government.
It's definitely a conversation worth having, especially as technology continues to play a larger role in our lives and in how our governments function.
Absolutely. We need to be asking tough questions, considering different perspectives, and engaging in informed debates about the role of technology in, shaping our society.
Well said. And on that note, it seems like we've reached the end of our deep dive into the interconnected worlds of space tech, blockbuster movies, and the potential for tech-driven government reform. It's been quite a journey.
It has, and it's just a glimpse into the, ever-evolving landscape of technology. There's so much more to explore and discuss.
Absolutely. But for now, we've reached the end of this episode of Byte-Sized Tech. It's easy to get caught up in all the excitement of new gadgets and, groundbreaking innovations.
Right.
But it's important to remember that technology is ultimately a tool.
That's a great point. It's up to us to decide how we use that tool and what kind of future we want to create with it.
Exactly. And I think that brings us back to something you mentioned earlier, the idea that technology is becoming increasingly intertwined with government functions.
Right. And this raises some important questions about accountability, transparency, and the potential for, unintended consequences.
For example, if we're talking about using AI to improve government efficiency, we need to make sure that those algorithms are fair, unbiased, and don't perpetuate existing inequalities.
Absolutely. We also need to be mindful of data privacy and security, especially when dealing with, sensitive personal information.
It's a lot to consider, but I think these are conversations we need to be having now as technology continues to advance at such a rapid pace.
I agree. We can't just blindly embrace new technologies without thinking critically about their potential impact on society.
Well said. It's a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility.
And that responsibility lies with all of us, not just with tech companies or government agencies.
So what can we as individuals do to ensure that technology is used for good?
I think it starts with staying informed and engaged. We need to understand how these technologies work, what their potential benefits and risks are, and how they're being implemented in our communities.
That's where shows like Byte-Sized Tech come in, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to make these complex topics accessible and engaging so that everyone can participate in these important conversations.
Exactly. It's about empowering people with knowledge so they can make informed decisions about the role of technology in their lives.
And ultimately, I believe that's how we shape a future where technology serves humanity and not the other way around.
Well said. I think that's a great note to end on.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed today's deep dive, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.